All right, welcome back. This is part 5, maybe 6. I don't know, I lost count. Anyway, what we're going to do here for this part is we're going to take those exercise forms that we created and we're going to make them part of a working relational database or database, however you pronounce it. I say it both ways. So we've already created the relationship. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take and make the exercise table available through a button that we're going to put on our member list form. So we're going to jump into design view here with our member list form. We're going to come up to the controls group and we're going to click on our button. That's this option right here. Before we go any further, let's make sure that your wizards are turned on. If you click the More button, make sure that is the More button. It's this bottom one right here. If you click this More button, make sure your Use Control Wizards is selected. And the way you can tell is by looking at the icon on the left. See how it has the shading around it. That means it's selected. So with that turned on, now we can come up here to our button. We're going to click the button. Bring your pointer down into the screen somewhere, onto the detail area, wherever you want to put that button. Now there's two ways to create a button. You can click and drag to create a custom size button, or you can simply click and go with the default size button. So these are all of our button categories. You've got record navigation, and these are all the actions that those buttons can do. This is the the record operations, and these are all the different things you can do with records. These are the form operations, which is the one we're going to be using here. Then there's report operations, different things you can do with reports. Application, there's only one option for application, that's quit application. And then there's the miscellaneous, to where once you get into Access and you start learning a little bit more about it, we'll be learning about queries, and you can also go in and create your own macros. Maybe I'll do a session on macros once I get this basic one finished. So for right now, we're going to go to form operation, and we want this button to open a form. Click the next button. We want it to open the exercise form, so click next. And we want this to open the form and find specific data to display. We don't want it to just show all records. Then we got our users having to scroll through and search through everybody to find their stuff. So we'll select open the form and find specific data to display. Because what we're going to do is we want it to open the exercise form and display any and all exercises that match the member ID with the member that we're looking at currently. So we select member ID from the member list form, and then member ID from the exercise form. Because remember, these are the two that we joined. This is where the relationship is set up. Then we click this button in the middle to join those two for the button. So now it's going to take the member ID and the member ID and look for those matches. Then we'll click the next button. And here we get to decide on what we want to be displayed on our button. Do we want a picture like this, or do we want some sort of text? I'm going to go with text for this one, and I'm going to put log exercises. That way they'll know when I come in and I do my stuff, I click this button to log my exercises. Pretty easy. Click the next button. Now for this one, you don't really have to make any changes here to the button name. You can just go with this standard whatever command and then a number that access applies to it. To be honest with you, most of the time I don't change these names. But if the button is pretty specific, like this one's pretty specific, we're going to go ahead and change this to log exercises. Again, notice we're using the Pascal casing, scrunching the words together because it will not accept spaces here. And then we'll click the Finish button. And there is our log exercise button. We'll save these changes. And now we're going to go to Form View. There's our form. There's our button. So if, let's say, Mr. Bunny comes in and he wants to log some exercises, he's going to need to know his member ID number, because when he comes in here and clicks the log exercise, he has to enter his member ID. And then he's going to select an exercise. And then the date is automatically filled in for him. But if he wants to change it, he can click in that field, click the calendar button, and choose a different date. Maybe he ran yesterday, but forgot to log it. So that works too. So when I look at this exercise table, I think I want to add a few more fields, because if he was running, we should probably find out how far he ran and how long it took him to run. And if he was lifting weights, if he was bench pressing, we should probably find out how much he was lifting and how many repetitions he did with that weight. So we'll leave this at running. And we're gonna come in and we're gonna add a button to this form as well. So let's go ahead and switch to Design View for this form. And all we want to do for this form is add a Close button. So we'll click the button up here. Now we'll come over here. I'm going to put mine up here in the heading, and I'll click, and we're going to go with Form Operation, and then Close Form, Next. And I like this little exit button image, or you could use the stop, whichever one you prefer. I'm going to go with the exit door. I'll click the Next button. Since this is, standard exit close form, I'm not going to go with a special name, because there's nothing special about close form. We could have a close form on many other forms, but I don't want to have to go through and name each one specifically. So we'll click Finish. And I will just position this button a little bit, move it up here kind of towards the edge. We'll save those changes and then click the Form View button. So there's our exercise form, and we're ready to go back to our member list form. So we'll click the Close, and there it takes us back. So let's go ahead and add those changes to our exercise field. Let's close the member list button. And you'll notice, maybe you didn't notice, but I switched to Office 365 because my Office 2013 had an unrecoverable error, and I didn't want to go through all the, the uninstall and reinstall and fix to try and get that issue fixed. But the databases, they are compatible with 2013, actually from 2007. So Office 2007, 2010, 2013, 2016, and Office 365. If you create a database in any one of those, it will work across all of those different application years. So we're going to go to the exercise, going to right click and go to Design View. So they did the exercise. So if they ran, we want to know distance. That way it'll work for running or walking or hiking or biking. So that covers all of that. If they lifted weights, then we want to know the weight. So we shouldn't have any type of conflict there, because if they're going for distance and there's no weight really involved. So then the other side of this is if they went a certain distance, we want to know the time, or maybe duration would be better. And then if they're lifting weights, we want to know how many reps. So we could make these number fields, or we could just leave them the short text, because you can enter numbers into short text as well. We are going to change the field size. I'll change the field size for duration / reps to 20, should be plenty big enough. Same for distance and weight. 20 should be plenty big enough. We don't need to really add any captions, because the slash between the two makes the separation pretty easy. We will go with a left align on both of those. And we're not worried about making it required field or any of those things. Now, what we might want to do is we might want to take this exercise date and put it at the bottom. That way they go into the member ID, the exercise, distance, duration, and then they put the date last. I think that'll work. Let's save this. We'll view the table. There's the table. So we can go in here and we can add if we wanted to, but we're not going to. We're going to close this out. And we will open our member list form, click the log exercise, and since we added those fields to the table, we need to come in and add them to the form as well. So this is another way of updating or modifying a form. So we'll jump into Design View here. And we're just going to extend our form out. I have no plans of printing this, so going beyond the 10.5-inch mark, which would allow us margins. I'm just going to go however far I think I need. I'm going to take the exercise date and I'm going to move it over using my arrow keys, because I don't want to mess up my alignment top and bottom. We're going to click on Add Existing Fields, and here are the two new fields we're going to add. So this is going to be a little different, because what you have to do for this is you have to click and drag and bring that field over. And when you bring it over, it has the label and the field side by side. We're going to grab the label handle and drag it up on top of the field. And then we'll resize the field to make it the same size as the label. And then we can bring it all over here and line it up with our member exercise. We'll move the exercise over. I just like a little space between fields. Maybe that's, a peeve of mine, but I do. And then we'll bring the duration and reps over, and we'll do the same thing. Drag the label up on top. And we will drag it over so that it's on the same level with our distance and weight. And now we can close this, and now we can bring our exercise date back over and position it. All right, we'll save those changes. Go to Form View. So what we have here is we have borders around these labels, but not these. So let's go back to Design View. We will select, let's just select all of these, because I want to show you something else. I'm going to select all of these. We're going to bring up our property sheet, and we're going to put the border style right here. I'm going to make our border style solid, and we'll make the border color black. And we also have some special effects that you can apply to your forms. Now, I don't want to apply the special effects to the labels on here. I just want to apply the special effects to the fields. So I click and drag to select only the fields. And then I'm going to come down to the special effects property. And right now it's set at flat. I'm going to change that to sunken. And then I want to select all fields. And I want to change the forecolor to black so I can see it. And then we'll save those changes and view the form. There we go. See, this is just a little off from the rest of them. So I'm going to just go in here and touch it up a little bit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to align, right click, align bottom, and then I'll select the fields, I'll right click and align top. So that moved these up so that they match the rest. And now view again, and there we go. There's our new form. The sunken didn't seem to do much. Let's go in and try a different one and see. Let's select all of them. And let's go with special effect of raised. Yeah, that's a little different. I don't like it though. I'll go back to sunken. And sunken. Here we go. I'm going to save that. Maybe add some color. Remember, color for the detail is back color. So here's my back color. And maybe I'll make this one green since the other one was blue. I'll apply some back color to the heading. And I'll make it a darker green. Beautiful. Save it. Form view. There's our exercise form. We'll close out of there. It takes us back to our member list. So now if we change users, let's go to Speedy Gonzalez. Let's log some exercise for Speedy Gonzalez. Wait, I need to go back and get his number. I don't know their numbers off by heart, so I just copy it. And we'll put a number in there. Speedy did some running. He ran 5 miles in 2 minutes because he's pretty quick. And he did that today. And we press tab, and then it takes us down to a new record. We'll put in his ID number again. And his exercise this time was, he did some sit-ups. He did sit-ups with 0 weight, but he did 250 reps. Okay, so that's how we can get this, and because these are all tied to his number, his ID number, member number, you can look at everything that we put in. And if we close this and go back to Bugs Bunny and open the log exercise, all you see is the one that we put in for him. So that's where that relationship and match this for that, right? We match the member ID field, so it only shows the information for this member number. Now there's another way to do that, and the other way to do it is to make a subform. So we'll make a subform, and we'll place that subform right here on the bottom of the member list form. It's not difficult. We're going to go to Design View. We're going to scroll down, and here is our here's our subform button. click the subform button, and I can see we're going to have to make some room at the bottom. So let me deselect that button. I'll make some room down here at the bottom of the form. I'll go back and reselect my subform, and I'll click and drag to make a space for my subform. Something I think is going to be big enough. We can always come back in and edit it when we're done. This just wants to make sure that what I'm doing is safe and reliable. And yes, I know, because it's all my stuff. So now it wants to know, are we going to use an existing table or query? Are you going to use an existing form? We're going to use an existing form. And the form we're going to use is the exercise form. So click Next. Do we want to choose what fields are linked, or do we want to choose our own? I prefer on this to choose my own. I think it's more reliable. And it's more or less what we did before. We select the member ID under this one, and then we select the member ID for the subform. Okay, so show exercises for each record in member list using member ID. And then you click Next. What would you like to call this subform? We'll call this exercise sub to indicate that it's a subform. And then we'll finish. So there's our subform, and there is our primary form. We'll save these changes, go back to Design View, and there we go. So I want to make this a little bit bigger. So I'm going to go back to Design View. I'm going to scroll down, and there's sizing handles on all of these. So you can make the subform bigger. Take a quick look. Okay, not bad, not bad. Let's, with the subform selected, right? The subform select. Remember the form button here in the corner? This is the form button for member list. This is the form button for the exercise subform. And let's change this to datasheet view, yes. And we're going to change the view type to datasheet. And that way it's going to display more than just one record at a time in that subform. We'll go back and we'll do a quick view. There we go. So there we go. He did one running. If we go to Speedy, there's Speedy. You can see the two exercises that he did. So if I go back to somebody else, maybe Petunia Pig, I can enter the information right here in my subform. I can choose the exercise. She didn't do any of these. She went hiking. And because this is a combo box, it'll allow you to either enter new form or new information or select from the list. All right. There's our exercise date. We want to move that to the end. Remember, we moved it to the end in the table, so now we're going to do it same thing here on our form. And you can make these changes right here, and then you just save it, and it'll save that information. So Petunia went hiking. She went 1.5 miles, and it took her 2.5 hours to do that. And there we go. Can move on to the next one. And what's good about this is you don't have to keep adding the member number. It automatically puts it in there. So maybe now she went and she did some biking, and she biked for 5 miles, and it took her 1.5 hours to do it. Right? So everything is set up for you right here. So that's form and subform. And it's also form with a button to log you to another form. There's another way you could set all of this up, and that's with another navigation form. So let's go ahead and create a form. We're going to go to navigation, and this time we're going to use horizontal tabs and vertical tabs. What makes this nice is you can set vertical tabs to only apply to certain horizontal tabs. So being here in layout view, which is the only view that you can be in to add these tabs, I'm going to take the member list form and I'm going to bring it up here to the top. And then I can bring the exercise form and add it to the top as well. Now, I also think that when you're viewing the exercise form, if you need to make a change to this exercise list, then you should be able to do that from here. So we'll take this lookup exercise form and we will add it to the vertical tab. So this will only be visible when you're on the exercise tab. And we can make the activity level, we'll make it available when you're on the member list form, just so you can see. We'll save those changes, and we're going to call this navigation form fitness tracker. Oops, I got a space in there, no spaces. Fitness tracker menu, and then save. Now if we go to form view, and we can hide our navigation pane. So there you'll see we're on the member list form. And while we're in the member list form, we have access to the activity level form. Not sure why it's not bringing anything up, but we'll take a look at that. And if we go to exercise, then when we click the exercise lookup, we have the option now to add, we can add that hiking to our list and then go back to exercise. So member list, activity form, again, I'm not sure why that one's not showing up. But you get the idea from the exercise. I'll take a look at this, the activity level. There's our table, so there's just an issue between the table and the form, but I'll take a look at that. So we're going to call this one quits for now. We talked about creating this dual tab navigation form. We also added a subform to a form, and then we also added a button to our form that will open up a second form. So we'll leave it at that, and I'll figure out what we're going to do next, and I'm sure it'll be good. So y'all stay safe, have fun, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.